A human diplomat's allergic sneeze releases pheromones that drive an insectoid alien queen into a mating frenzy. A swirling cosmos of stars, a sleek human diplomatic shuttle cutting through the void, and a nervous 30-year-old guy named Ethan Caldwell, Earth's least likely ambassador, sweating buckets in his stiff uniform. Ethan's no chiseled space marine or galaxy-saving hero. He's a linguist with a knack for alien languages and a chronic allergy to, well, just about everything. Dust, pollen, you name it. Right now, he's on his way to Vixara, a humid, jungle-covered hive-world ruled by the Vixarans, an insectoid species known for their intricate hives and even more intricate politics. His mission? Negotiate a trade deal for Earth's rare minerals. Simple, right? Except Ethan's about to sneeze his way into the most chaotic day of his life. Vixara looms in the shuttle's viewport, a green orb shrouded in mist, its surface crawling with glowing hive towers that pulse like living things. The air inside the shuttle is thick with recycled oxygen, and Ethan's nose is already twitching. He pops an antihistamine, muttering to himself about how nobody warned him the Vixaran atmosphere is basically a pollen bomb. As the shuttle descends, the landing platform comes into view, a sprawling structure of woven vines and bioluminescent resin, buzzing with Vixaran drones. These aren't your average bugs. They're humanoid, with sleek exoskeletons, multifaceted eyes, and wings that hum like a symphony. Ethan steps out, clutching his diplomatic briefcase, and immediately feels like a fish out of water. The air smells like sweet sap and damp earth, and his sinuses are screaming. Waiting for him is Queen Zenara, the Vixaran ruler, and let me tell you, she's a sight. Towering at 7 feet, her emerald exoskeleton shimmers under the jungle sun, her wings folded like a royal cape. Her face is almost human, sharp cheekbones, full lips, but her eyes are twin kaleidoscopes, glinting with every color of the spectrum. She's flanked by her royal guard, all clicking their mandibles in what Ethan hopes is a friendly greeting. He straightens up, trying to look official, but his nose is staging a full-on rebellion. He clears his throat, ready to deliver his practice speech about Earth-Vixaran friendship when it happens. A tickle in his nose, a sharp inhale, and a CHOO, a sneeze so loud it echoes across the platform. The guards freeze. Zenara's wings twitch. Ethan, mortified, fumbles for a tissue, stammering apologies. Sorry, allergies. Earth thing, no offense. But something's off. Zenara's eyes are locked on him, her pupils dilating into swirling pools of gold. Her antennae quiver, and a low, vibrating hum rises from her throat. The guards exchange nervous glances, their mandibles clicking faster. Ethan, clueless, wipes his nose and tries to move on. So, about that trade deal, but Zenara steps closer, her movements fluid, almost predatory. Her voice, a melodic buzz, cuts him off. You emit the bonding scent. Ethan blinks. The what now? Here's where things get wild. See, Vixarans don't fall in love like humans. Their queens choose mates through a rare pheromone burst, a chemical signal so potent it's like a cosmic, you're the one. And Ethan's sneeze? Packed with human histamines and a dash of his budget cologne, it somehow mimicked that signal. To Zenara, Ethan's not just a sniffly diplomat. He's her destined mate, handpicked by biology. She leans in, her breath warm and sweet, and murmurs, You have called to me, human. Our union is fated. Ethan's brain short-circuits. Union? Fated? He's barely dated back on Earth, and now an alien queen is giving him bedroom eyes, or whatever those sparkly orbs are. The crowd of drones starts buzzing louder, a mix of awe and confusion. Apparently, a human triggering the bonding scent is unheard of, and Ethan's accidental proposal is causing a diplomatic incident. He tries to backpedal. No, just a sneeze. I'm not, proposing anything. But Zenara's not listening. She extends a clawed hand, her touch surprisingly gentle, and strokes his cheek. Your scent is intoxicating, she says, her wings fluttering. Ethan's face burns red, partly from embarrassment, partly because her touch sends a weird tingle through him. The guards, meanwhile, are whispering about the prophecy, something about a fated outsider uniting the hives. Ethan's too busy panicking to notice. Before he can clarify that he's not here to marry anyone, a distant rumble shakes the platform. The jungle canopy rustles, and a swarm of rival Vixorans, rebels from a neighboring hive, bursts into view, their crimson exoskeletons glinting like blood. They're led by a rogue drone who's clearly not thrilled about Ethan's arrival. "The human defile our queen," the leader snarls, brandishing a spear that crackles with energy. Zanara's guards form a protective circle, but the rebels are closing in fast. Ethan, still clutching his tissue, realizes he's gone from diplomat to target in record time. Zanara grabs his arm, her grip firm but warm. "You must come with me," she says, her voice urgent. "The rebels will not harm my chosen." Ethan's like, "Chosen? I'm just here for minerals." But there's no time to argue. The rebels charge, and Zanara pulls him toward a glowing tunnel leading into the hive. As they run, Ethan's allergies kick into overdrive, and another sneeze escapes. Zanara's wings flare, and she lets out a sound that's half hum, half moan. "Your scent grows stronger," she says, her eyes glowing. Ethan's torn between terror and wondering if he's accidentally seducing an alien queen. They dive into the tunnel, the rebels' spears sizzling behind them. The air inside is thick with sap and pheromones, and Ethan's head is spinning. Zanara's hand is still on his arm, her touch oddly comforting despite the chaos. As they pause to catch their breath, she turns to him, her kaleidoscope eyes searching his. "Why do you resist our bond?" she asks, her voice soft but intense. Ethan opens his mouth to explain allergies, earth customs, anything, but a faint glow from deeper in the hive catches his eye. It's pulsing, almost calling to him. And then he hears it, a low, mechanical hum, not Vixoran, but human. Something's hidden in this hive, something that could change everything. The tunnel's walls glow with a soft, amber light, like the inside of a giant firefly, and Ethan's sneakers skid on the slick resin floor as he sprints behind Queen Zanara. Her wings hum softly, casting flickering shadows, and her clawed hand grips his wrist with a strength that says she's not letting go. Ethan's still reeling from the rebel attack on the landing platform, his nose itching like crazy in the sap-thick air of the Vixoran hive. That mysterious hum, human, mechanical, not Vixoran, echoes faintly ahead, pulling him forward even as his brain screams, "You're in way over your head, buddy." Zanara's kaleidoscope eyes dart back to him, glinting with something between urgency and adoration. "Your scent guides us," she buzzes, her voice a melody that makes his skin tingle despite the chaos. Ethan wants to yell, "It's just allergies," but the sound of rebel spears sizzling against the tunnel walls keeps his mouth shut. They duck into a side chamber, a cavernous space dripping with bioluminescent vines that pulse like heartbeats. Zanara releases his wrist, her antennae twitching as she scans for danger. Ethan doubles over, catching his breath, and mutters, "Okay, Your Majesty, mind explaining why your people are trying to skewer me?" Zanara's wings flare, and she steps closer, too close. Her exoskeleton shimmers, and her lips part in a way that's disturbingly human. "The rebels reject the prophecy," she says. "They believe no outsider can claim the Queen's bond. Your scent, it challenges their order." Ethan blinks, wiping sweat from his brow. "Prophecy? Lady, I sneezed. That's not a marriage proposal." But Zanara's eyes soften, and her claws brush his arm, sending a jolt through him. "Your essence speaks what your words deny," she murmurs. Ethan's face burns. Is he actually flirting with an alien queen? Or is she just high on his histamines? Before he can process, a low growl rumbles through the chamber. The vines part, revealing a massive Vixoran creature. A guardian beast, its exoskeleton spiked like a porcupine, its mandibles snapping. Zanara hisses, her wings buzzing a warning, but Ethan's already thinking. He's no fighter, but he's got a linguist's brain and a knack for patterns. The beast's spikes glow in sync with the vines, like they're connected. It's tied to the hive's energy, he whispers, pulling a multi-tool from his pocket. Zanara raises an eyebrow, or whatever those ridges are. You challenge a hive guardian with a toy. Ethan grins, tweaking the tool's frequency. Watch and learn, Your Majesty. He aims it at the vines, emitting a high-pitched whine. The beast screeches, its spikes dimming, and it stumbles, confused. Zanara's jaw drops, her eyes swirling with awe. Your mind, it bends the hive's will, she says. Ethan shrugs, trying not to look smug. Just basic acoustics. Humans are good at breaking stuff. They slip past the dazed beast, deeper into the hive, where the air grows hotter and the walls hum with a human-like sound. Zanara leads him to a spiral ramp, her wings brushing his shoulder as they climb. Ethan's starting to notice her little touches, deliberate, almost possessive. So, he ventures this bonding scent thing. How do we, turn it off? Zanara pauses, her antennae drooping. It cannot be undone, she says softly. Once triggered, the queen's heart seeks only her chosen. Her voice catches, and for a second, she's not a regal insectoid ruler, but a woman wrestling with something raw. Ethan swallows, unsure if he's flattered or terrified. Look, Zanara, I'm just a guy with bad allergies. I'm not your cosmic soulmate. But her eyes lock onto his, and her wings hum a soft, pleading note. You ran from danger to protect me, she says. Is that not the mark of a true bond? Ethan's stumped. He's just trying to survive, but to her, he's already a hero. The ramp opens into a vast chamber, its ceiling studded with glowing crystals that cast rainbow light. At the center sits a bizarre structure, a mix of Vixarin resin and sleek, metallic panels that scream human engineering. It's the source of the hum, and Ethan's gut twists. That's not Vixarin, he says, stepping closer. Zanara hesitates, her claws clenching. The heart of the hive, she says. Our ancients spoke of outsiders who built it, then vanished. It sings when the chosen arrives. Ethan's mind races. Human tech on an alien world? He's no archaeologist, but he knows this could rewrite history. He scans the panels, spotting faint Earth serial numbers. This is ours, he mutters. But how? Zanara's wings flutter nervously. Touch it, and the heart will speak, she says. Ethan reaches out, but a spear whizzes past, grazing his arm. The rebels have caught up, their crimson exoskeletons glinting as they swarm the chamber. Their leader, a scarred drone named Cryax, points a crackling spear at Ethan. The human defile the heart, he roars. Zanara steps in front, her wings blazing. Is my chosen, she declares, but Cryax sneers. A soft-skinned mammal? He'll doom us all. Ethan, clutching his scratched arm, notices the crystals above pulsing faster, like they're reacting to the tension. He's got an idea, but it's risky. Zanara, he whispers, can you amplify sound with your wings? She nods, confused. He tweaks his multi-tool again, handing it to her. Buzz this frequency at the crystals. Trust me. She hesitates, then obeys, her wings vibrating with a piercing hum. The crystals shatter, raining shards that stun the rebels. Ethan grabs her hand, pulling her toward the heart as Cryax roars in fury. They reach the structure, and Ethan slams his hand on a panel. It lights up, projecting a holographic interface, definitely human, with English text. System activated, a robotic voice says. Zanara gasps, her antennae quivering. The heart speaks. Ethan's heart pounds. This thing's a relic, maybe a lost colony ship's core. But before he can read more, the ground shakes. Cryax, recovering, hurls a spear that cracks the panel, sparking wildly. The hum grows erratic, and a new sound, louder, angrier, echoes from the jungle outside. Something big is coming, and Ethan's pretty sure his sneeze just made it worse. The heart of the hive sparks like a busted circuit board, its holographic interface flickering as Ethan yanks his hand back. The air crackles with static, and that ominous rumble from the jungle outside grows louder, like a storm about to break. Zanara's wings buzz frantically, her kaleidoscope eyes wide as she stares at the damaged panel. The heart cries out, she says, her voice trembling with awe and fear. Ethan's no-tech genius, but he knows a short circuit when he sees one. And this human-built relic, whatever it is not happy about Cryax's spear. The rebel leader, still reeling from the crystal shards Ethan tricked Zanara into shattering, scrambles to his feet, his crimson exoskeleton glinting with malice. You've doomed us, human, Cryax snarls, raising another spear. Ethan's heart races. He's got no weapons, just a multi-tool and a head full of half-remembered engineering classes. But he's not about to let some bug-eyed bully ruin his day. Zanara steps between them, her wings flaring like a shield. "Is my chosen," she declares, her voice ringing through the chamber. Ethan's like, chosen for what exactly? But now's not the time for questions. The rebels charge, their spears humming with energy, and Ethan grabs Zanara's arm, pulling her behind the heart's console. "We need cover," he yells, scanning the chamber. The walls are lined with pulsing resin tubes, pumping some kind of glowing sap, probably the hive's lifeblood. Ethan's brain kicks into overdrive. If he can disrupt the flow, maybe it'll slow the rebels. He tweaks his multi-tool to a cutting frequency and slashes a tube. Golden sap sprays out, slicking the floor, and the rebels slip, their spears clattering. Zanara's jaw drops, her antennae quivering. "You wield chaos like a warrior," she says, her voice laced with something suspiciously like admiration. Ethan grins despite the chaos. "Just a guy who hates losing, Your Majesty." They duck behind the console as Cryax roars, rallying his drones. The saps bought them a moment, but the heart sparks are getting worse, and that jungle rumble is now a deafening roar. Ethan peeks at the holographic interface, catching snippets of text. Colony core. Emergency protocol. Signal active. His stomach lurches. This thing's not just a relic. It's a beacon, and he's pretty sure he just turned it on. "Zanara," he says, keeping his voice low, "this heart of yours, it's human tech. Maybe a lost ship's core. If it's signaling, it could be calling something." Her eyes swirl with confusion. The ancient spoke of sky kin who built the heart, then fled. "You believe your people were these kin." Ethan shrugs, dodging a spear that grazes the console. "I'm starting to think my sneeze isn't the weirdest thing here." The rebels regroup, and Ethan knows they can't stay pinned down. He notices the console's base has a hatch, small, but big enough to crawl through. "Zanara, can you fit in there?" he asks, pointing. She hesitates, her wings folding tight. "A queen does not crawl," she says, but her voice softens as she adds, "Yet for you, I will." Ethan's heart does a weird flip. Is he actually starting to like her? No time to dwell. They scramble into the hatch, landing in a narrow tunnel lined with glowing fungi that pulse like a nightclub. The air's so thick with sap scent it's like breathing syrup, and Ethan's nose twitches dangerously. He clamps a hand over it, muttering, "Not now, allergies." Zanara, crouched beside him, tilts her head. "You suppress your bonding scent?" she asks, her claws brushing his hand. Her touch is warm, and her wings hum softly, almost soothing. Ethan's face heats up. It's not a scent, it's a sneeze. Big difference. But her eyes glow, and she leans closer, her lips inches from his. "Your heart races," she murmurs. "Is this not desire?" Ethan's brain screams, "Run," but his body's not listening. The moment's cut short by a crash above. The rebels are prying open the hatch. Ethan pulls Zanara deeper into the tunnel, the fungi lighting their way. "Okay," he says, trying to focus. "This heart's signaling something. We need to know what before Cryax turns us into shish kebabs." Zanara nods, her antennae brushing the tunnel walls. The heart's chamber connects to the hive's memory, a sacred archive. It may hold answers. Ethan's intrigued. An archive? Maybe it's got logs from whoever built this thing. They crawl until the tunnel opens into a smaller chamber, its walls etched with Vixaran glyphs and studded with crystal screens. One screen flickers, displaying a grainy image, a human in an old-fashioned spacesuit, speaking in a language Ethan recognizes as English. "This is Captain Elena Ruiz," the figure says. "If you're seeing this, the core's active. Beware the swarm." Ethan freezes. Swarm? Zanara's wings tremble. The great swarm, she whispers. A rival hive, banished long ago. The heart song may call them back. Ethan's mind races. His sneeze triggered Zanara's mating frenzy, and now his touch on the heart might have summoned an alien Armageddon. Great job, Ethan. He studies the screen, noticing a control panel with human-style buttons. This is a command hub, he says, his linguist brain piecing it together. The Vixarans built their hive around a human shipwreck. Your prophecy is probably just a distress signal on repeat. Zanara's eyes swirl with doubt. You speak of machines, yet the heart chose you. Ethan sighs. It chose my bad wiring, not my charm. A spear clangs against the chamber's entrance. Cryax is close. Ethan's multi-tool is running low on juice, but he spots a crystal screen pulsing in sync with the jungle's roar. That's tied to the heart's signal, he says, pointing. If I can hack it, maybe I can shut it down. Zanara grabs his arm, her claws gentle but firm. You risk the hive's wrath, she says, her voice soft. Yet I trust you. Her wings brush his shoulder, and for a second, Ethan forgets the danger. He's just a guy, and she's, well, a queen, but also kind of amazing. He shakes it off, focusing on the panel. Using his tool, he sends a feedback loop into the crystal, disrupting the signal. The screen dims, but the roar outside spikes, and the ground shakes violently. Zanara gasps, her exoskeleton paling. The swarm wakes, she says. Ethan curses under his breath. He didn't stop the signal, he made it louder. The hive's memory chamber trembles as the roar of the great swarm echoes through the jungle, a sound like 1,000 chainsaws tearing through metal. Ethan's multi-tool is smoking, its battery nearly fried from overloading the crystal screen, and he's kicking himself for amplifying the heart's signal instead of shutting it down. Zanara's exoskeleton has gone pale, her wings tucked tight against her back, a sign Ethan's starting to recognize as Vixaran fear. Her kaleidoscope eyes lock onto him, though, and there's a flicker of trust in their swirling depths. You stir the heart, she says, her voice a shaky buzz. Only you can silence it. Ethan wipes sweat from his brow, his allergies itching like a bad omen. No pressure, right? He mutters, glancing at the flickering screen with Captain Ruiz's ancient warning about the swarm. He's a linguist, not a galactic savior, but the rebels are closing in and the jungle's screaming. Time to think fast. The chamber's glyphs pulse erratically, and Ethan notices they're not just decorative. They're circuits, woven into the resin walls like a living motherboard. The Vixarans built their hive around this human tech, treating it like a god, but to Ethan, it's just a puzzle. He kneels by the control panel, his fingers tracing the human-style buttons. This is a command hub, probably for a colony ship, he says, half to himself. If I can access its logs, maybe I'll figure out what we're dealing with. Zanara crouches beside him, her claws hovering nervously. The hive's memory is sacred, she warns. To touch it is to challenge the ancients. Ethan flashes a grin, despite the pounding in his chest. Good thing I'm an atheist when it comes to alien tech. He presses a button, and the screen flares, projecting a new hologram. A star map with Vixara at its center, marked by a blinking red dot labeled distress beacon. Zanara gasps, her antennae quivering. The Skykins map. Ethan's not so sure it's divine. More like a crashed ship's SOS, he says, scrolling through the logs. The text is fragmented, but he pieces together a story. A human colony ship, the Aurora, crash-landed on Vixara centuries ago. Its core, now the heart, was designed to call for help, but it also attracted the Great Swarm, a predatory Vixaran faction that nearly wiped out the hive. The crew hid the core, hoping to protect the Vixarans, but their signal never stopped. Ethan's accidental activation just turned it into a galactic megaphone. Great, he groans. I'm the idiot who rang the dinner bell for a swarm of angry bugs. A spear slams into the wall, missing Ethan's head by inches. Cryax and his rebels have breached the chamber, their crimson exoskeletons glinting as they fan out. The human profanes the memory. Cryax roars, his spear crackling. Zanara leaps up, her wings buzzing a defiant challenge. He seeks to save us, she counters, but Cryax laughs, a harsh, clicking sound. Save us? He calls the swarm. Ethan's had enough of being the bad guy. He grabs a loose resin shard from the floor, tossing it at a glowing tube above. It bursts, spraying sap that gums up the rebels' wings. They stumble, cursing, and Ethan pulls Zanara toward a side tunnel. Run now. Argue later, he yells. She follows, her claws brushing his hand, and he swears her exoskeleton flushes a faint pink. Your courage, it stirs me, she murmurs. Ethan's too busy dodging spears to process that, but his heart skips a beat anyway. The tunnel twists downward, its walls studded with glowing fungi that flicker like dying stars. The air's so humid Ethan's shirt clings to his skin, and Zanara's wings hum softly, keeping pace. Okay, he pants, the heart's a beacon. If we can't shut it off, maybe we can redirect it, send the swarm somewhere else. Zanara's eyes swirl with doubt. The heart's song is eternal, she says. Only the chosen can bend its will. Ethan rolls his eyes. Chosen schmozen. I'm just a guy with a multi-tool and a death wish. But her claws tighten on his arm, warm and steady. You jest, yet you protect me, she says, her voice soft. On Vixara, such acts are intimate. Ethan's face burns. Intimate? Lady, I'm trying not to die. But her wings brush his shoulder, and he's starting to wonder if he's fighting for more than survival. They emerge into a lower chamber, a maze of resin spires pulsing with sap. At its center, a massive crystal, part of the heart's network, glows like a trapped sun. Ethan's multi-tool is barely functional, but he spots a human-made cable snaking from the crystal's base. Jackpot, he mutters, kneeling to inspect it. The cable's frayed, but it's connected to a data port, probably a backup system. If he can hack it, he might reroute the beacon. Zanara watches, her antennae twitching. You understand the Skykin's tools, she says, awed. Ethan shrugs, prying open the port. Just basic wiring. Humans are nosy like that. He plugs in his tool, sending a test signal, and the crystal dims slightly. Progress. But the ground shakes again, and a new sound, high-pitched like a swarm of locusts, cuts through the hive. Zanara's wings droop. The swarm scouts, she whispers. They've entered the jungle. Ethan's stomach twists. He's got minutes, maybe, before those scouts find the hive. He works faster, his fingers fumbling with the port's ancient circuits. The screen above flickers, showing a partial command. Redirect beacon. Input coordinates. Ethan's no navigator, but he knows Earth's coordinates by heart. Every diplomat does. If I send the signal to Earth, maybe it'll confuse the swarm, he says. Zanara grabs his shoulder, her claws trembling. You would call danger to your home? Ethan hesitates, then shakes his head. Nah, Earth's too far. It'll just bounce the signal into deep space. He hopes. He inputs the coordinates, but the crystal flares, and a shock zaps his hand, making him yelp. Cryax's voice echoes from the tunnel behind. The human destroys the heart. The rebels are close, and the scout's buzz is deafening. Zanara pulls Ethan behind a spire, her body pressed against his in the tight space. Her exoskeleton's warm, her wings humming softly, and her eyes glow with something fierce. If we fall, know my heart is yours, she says. Ethan's brain stalls. Let's not fall, okay? But his hand lingers on hers, and for a second, the chaos fades. Then the crystal pulses wildly, and a new hologram appears. A countdown, in human numbers, ticking down from 10 minutes. Itans Gutsinks. That's no beacon reset. It's a self-destruct. The glowing crystal in the hive chamber pulses like a dying star, its holographic countdown ticking down from 10 minutes with a cold, mechanical precision that makes Ethan's skin crawl. 9 minutes, 58 seconds. He's crouched behind a resin spire, Zanara's warm exoskeleton pressed against him, her wings humming a nervous rhythm. The high-pitched buzz of the great swarm scouts grows louder, seeping through the hive's walls, while Cryax's rebels hammer at the chamber's entrance, their spears cracking the resin. Ethan's multi-tool is a flickering lump of junk now. It's battery toast, and his allergies are begging for another sneeze. So, he whispers, forcing a grin, "Any Vixarin rituals for disarming ancient human bombs?" Zanara's kaleidoscope eyes swirl with worry, but her claws tighten on his arm, steady and warm. "The heart tests the chosen," she says, her voice a soft buzz. "You will find a way." Ethan's not sure if her faith is inspiring or insane, but with the hive shaking and the clock ticking, he's got no choice but to try. He peeks at the crystal, its light casting eerie shadows across the spires. The human cable at its base is still connected, but the data port's sparking from his earlier hack. "That countdown's a failsafe," he mutters, piecing it together. The Aurora's crew must have rigged the core to blow if it fell into the wrong hands, like the swarms. Zanara tilts her head, antennae brushing his cheek, sending a shiver down his spine. "You speak of your skykin as if they walk with you," she says, awed. Ethan chuckles, despite the chaos. "Just a history nerd with a knack for old tech. Now, help me find a control node." He scans the chamber, spotting a cluster of smaller crystals embedded in a spire, pulsing in sync with the main one. If he can disrupt their connection, maybe he'll buy time. But reaching them means crossing the open floor, right in Kryax's line of sight. The rebels breach the entrance, their crimson exoskeletons glinting as they pour in. Kryax points his spear, its tip sizzling. "The human brings ruin," he bellows. Zanara leaps up, her wings blazing like a beacon. "He brings salvation," she retorts, her voice ringing with a queen's authority. Ethan's heart skips. She's risking everything for him. A sniffling nobody who crashed her prophecy. He grabs her wrist, pulling her back. "Save his speech, your majesty. We're not dead yet." He notices the chamber's sap tubes, still dripping from his earlier stunt. If he can cause another leak, it might slow the rebels. He snatches a jagged crystal shard from the floor, hurling it at a tube above. Golden sap gushes out, splattering Kryax's drones, who slip and flail, their wings gunked up. Zanara's eyes widen, her exoskeleton flushing pink. "Your chaos is beautiful," she says, almost dreamy. Ethan blinks. Thanks? Now run." They dart toward the smaller crystals, dodging spears that singe the air. Ethan's sneakers slide on the sap-slick floor, but Zanara's claws steady him, her grip fierce yet gentle. "Stay close," she murmurs, her wings brushing his back. Ethan's starting to think close is her default setting, and he's not entirely mad about it. They reach the spire, and Ethan kneels, inspecting the crystal cluster. It's wired to the main system, but the connections are ancient, caked in resin. He needs to break the circuit without frying himself. "Zanara," he says, "can your wings generate static? Like a small charge?" Her antennae perk up. "A queen's wings sing many songs," she says, flexing them. They hum, crackling with faint sparks. Ethan points to the crystals. "Aim that at these. Might short them out." She nods, her wings vibrating faster, and a tiny bolt zaps the cluster. The crystals dim, and the countdown freezes at 9 minutes, 12 seconds. Ethan punches the air. "That's my girl." Zanara's exoskeleton blushes brighter, and she leans closer. "Your girl?" she asks, her voice teasing. Ethan's face burns. Figure of speech. "Let's not get married yet." The victory's short-lived. The swarm's buzz spikes, and the hive walls crack as something massive slams against them. Zanara's wings droop. "The scouts call their kin," she whispers. The great swarm nears. Itan's gut twists. He's bought seconds, not solutions, and Kryax is back on his feet, rallying his drones. Ethan scans the chamber, spotting a narrow vent in the wall. Too small for rebels, but maybe not for them. "Zanara, that vent. Can we make it?" She hesitates, her claws clenching. "A queen does not flee," she says, but her eyes soften as she adds, "Yet with you, I am more than a queen." Ethan's heart does a weird flip again. He's just trying to keep them alive, but her words hit hard. They sprint for the vent, diving inside as a spear grazes Ethan's leg, drawing a sharp sting. Zanara pulls him through, her wings shielding him from the rebels' shouts. The vent is claustrophobic, its walls slick with sap and glowing with tiny fungi. Ethan's panting, his leg throbbing, but Zanara's close, her breath warm on his neck. "You bleed," she says, her claws hovering over his wound. Her antennae twitch, and she tears a strip of resin from the wall, wrapping it around his leg with surprising tenderness. "On Vixara, to tend a mate's wounds is a vow," she says, her eyes glowing. Ethan swallows, his voice hoarse. "I'm not your mate, Zanara. I'm just me." But her claws linger, and her exoskeleton pulses pink, betraying her feelings. "You risk all for my hive," she murmurs. "What is that if not love?" Ethan's brain stalls. Love? He's known her for, what, an hour? But her touch, her trust, it's doing something to him, and he's not sure he hates it. They crawl deeper, the vent sloping upward. The swarm's buzz is muffled, but the hive's tremors grow stronger, like the whole place is about to collapse. Ethan's mind races. The countdown's paused, but the heart's still active, and the swarm's closing in. He needs to find the core's main control, not just its relays. "Zanara," he says, "does the hive's memory connect to the heart's source? Like its power hub?" She nods, her wings brushing the vent's walls. The core chamber lies above, guarded by the ancients' traps. Only the chosen may enter. Ethan groans. "Let me guess, more prophecy stuff?" But her eyes are serious. The traps test the heart, not the body. Ethan's not sure what that means, but he's got a bad feeling. As they near the vent's end, a new sound cuts through, a low, rhythmic pulse like a heartbeat. The core chamber's close, but so is the swarm, and Cryax's shouts echo behind. Something tells Ethan the real test is about to begin. The core chamber shakes like it's about to crack open, the heart of the hive's blue glow pulsing wildly as the countdown flickers at 8 minutes, 40 seconds. Ethan's staring at the locked hatch to the primary node, its surface etched with a puzzle of human and Vixaran symbols that might as well be alien Sudoku. Zanara's claws grip his shoulder, her exoskeleton warm against his back, her wings buzzing a frantic rhythm. Outside, the great swarm's roar is a wall of sound, their massive forms slamming into the hive, cracking resin walls. Cryax and his rebel drones charge across the chamber, spears sizzling, their crimson exoskeletons glinting with rage. Ethan's got no multi-tool, a stinging leg, and allergies itching like a cruel joke, but Zanara's kaleidoscope eyes are locked on him, full of a faith he doesn't feel. "The heart awaits your voice," she says, her melodic buzz cutting through the chaos. Ethan's thinking, my voice is about to scream, but with the hive crumbling and the swarm breaking through, it's now or never. The puzzle's symbols glow, some blinking in patterns that tug at Ethan's linguist brain. He's no cryptographer, but he's cracked enough alien dialects to spot a code. The human symbols, letters, numbers, mixed with Vixaran glyphs that resemble sound waves. "It's a voice lock," he mutters, kneeling by the hatch. The Aurora's crew tied it to Vixaran harmonics. Zanara's antennae perk up. "You mean the heart song?" Ethan nods, his pulse racing. "Your singing hacked the system before. If we combine it with a human phrase, maybe it'll open." Cryax's spear grazes the hatch, sparking, and he roars, "You'll die before you defile the core." Ethan ignores him, grabbing Zanara's hand. "Sing the loudest note you've got, Your Majesty. I'll do the talking." Her exoskeleton flushes pink, and she unleashes a piercing hum, her wings vibrating so hard the air shimmers. Ethan shouts, "Aurora, override protocol, Caldwell authorization." The hatch beeps, symbols aligning, and it hisses open, revealing a glowing control room packed with human tech. They dive inside, the hatch slamming shut as Cryax's spear clangs against it. The control room's a relic of the Aurora, consoles, screens, and a central node pulsing with energy. The countdown's on a monitor, 8 minutes, 10 seconds. Ethan scans the consoles, spotting a command interface labeled Core Stabilization. "This is it," he says, fingers flying over the keys. "If I can reroute the self-destruct, we might save the hive." Zanara's wings brush his arm, her voice soft. You risk all for my people. Ethan's face heats up. Yeah, well, I'm not a fan of exploding. But her claws linger, and he's starting to think he's fighting for more than survival. The swarm's crashes grow louder, resin dust raining from the ceiling, and the monitor flashes a warning. Swarm proximity critical. Ethan's no engineer, but he's got a knack for improvisation. The interface shows the core's energy grid tied to the hive's sap tubes. If he overloads the tubes, he might create a shock wave to repel the swarm, but it risks frying the core. Zanara, he says, your sap's conductive, right? Like it carries a charge. She nods, her eyes swirling. It powers our hive. Ethan grins. Then we're turning it into a giant taser. He reroutes the core's energy, sending it into the sap tubes, but the system demands a manual trigger, a lever across the room, past a flickering laser trap. Zanara grabs his arm. The traps will burn you, she warns. Ethan's heart pounds, but he's done running. Stay here. Keep singing to stabilize the core. Her exoskeleton pales, but she nods, her wings humming a steady note that calms the monitors. Ethan sprints for the lever, dodging lasers that singe his hair. The swarm breaks through the outer wall, their black, jagged forms flooding the chamber, mandibles snapping. Cryax's rebels fight them, but they're overwhelmed, their spears useless against the swarm's armor. Ethan reaches the lever, his legs screaming, and pulls it with all he's got. The core whines, sap tubes glowing blindingly, and a shock wave ripples out, electrifying the swarm. Scouts collapse, twitching, their buzz silenced. The rebels freeze, stunned, as the hive stabilizes, the countdown pausing at 7 minutes, 50 seconds. Zanara's song falters, her eyes wide. If you turn the hive's heart against them, she says, rushing to his side. Ethan's panting, his sleeves smoldering. Just a little human rewiring. No big deal. But her claws cup his face, her touch warm, and she murmurs, "It is everything." Cryax, battered but alive, stumbles into the control room, his spear lowered. The swarm retreats, he says, his voice grudging. Your chaos saved us. Ethan's too tired to gloat, but he catches Zanara's proud smile, and it's worth more than any apology. The monitors beep, showing the swarm's retreat, but the countdown's still active, and the core's energy is unstable. Ethan's hack bought time, not victory. He scans the interface, spotting a hidden command. Archive access, historical logs. Curiosity gets the better of him, and he opens it, revealing a hologram of Captain Ruiz, her face grim. If the core is active, she says, the Vixorans are our legacy. Protect them, or the swarm will claim all. Ethan freezes. Legacy? The Aurora's crew didn't just crash. They stayed, blending with the Vixorans. Zanara's eyes swirl, her antennae quivering. Your kin are ours. Ethan's mind reels. Humans and Vixorans related? That's a twist he didn't see coming. The core sparks, the countdown flickering. 7 minutes, 30 seconds. Ethan's got to stabilize it, but the swarm's retreat is temporary, and Cryax's loyalty is shaky. Zanara's hand finds his, her wings humming softly. We face this as one, she says, her voice steady. Ethan's not sure if she means the core or something deeper, but her faith pulls him forward. He's just a guy with a sneeze, but right now he's the only shot this hive's got. The core chamber's control room is a mess of sparking consoles and flickering lights. The heart of the hive's countdown glaring at 7 minutes, 30 seconds on the monitor. Ethan's fingers dance across the Aurora's ancient interface, his leg throbbing from the rebel's spear, his allergies itching like a cruel prank. Zanara stands close, her exoskeleton warm, her wings humming a soft, steady note that keeps the core's energy from spiking. Her kaleidoscope eyes are fixed on him, glowing with a trust that makes his chest tight. The great swarm's retreat is a faint buzz now, their scouts fried by Ethan's sap tube shockwave, but the hive still trembles, and Cryax's rebels are banging on the hatch, their spears sizzling. Captain Ruiz's hologram loops in the background, her words about the Vixorans being humanity's legacy ringing in Ethan's head. Legacy? He's just a guy with a sneeze. But right now, he's got to be more, because if his core blows, Vixara's done for. Ethan's eyes lock on the stabilization command. A maze of code that's half human, half Vixaran glyphs. Okay, he mutters, the core's overloaded, but if I can balance the energy grid, we might stop the countdown. Zanara's claws brush his arm, sending a shiver through him. Your kin built this, she says, her voice a melodic buzz. Their heart beats in you. Ethan's not sure about hearts, but he's got a linguist's knack for patterns, and the glyphs look like a frequency map. You're singing, he says, glancing at her. It's not just pretty, it's data. Keep it steady, and I'll sync the grid to it. Zanara's exoskeleton flushes pink, and she hums louder, her wings vibrating with a precision that makes the monitors calm. Ethan tweaks the interface, aligning the core's energy to her frequency. The countdown slows, ticking to 7 minutes, 15 seconds. He grins despite the chaos. We're a hell of a band, Your Majesty. The hatch groans, Cryax's spears cracking it open. Ethan's hack is working, but he needs time. Time the rebels aren't giving. Zanara steps toward the hatch, her wings blazing. I'll hold them, she says, but Ethan grabs her wrist. Not alone, you won't. He spots a secondary console with a defense protocol. Old-school human tech, probably for repelling borders. He slams the activation key, and the control room's walls hum, emitting a low-frequency pulse that knocks the rebels back. Cryax stumbles, his spear clattering, and Ethan can't help a smirk. Human tech 1. Angry bugs 0. Zanara's eyes swirl with awe. You wield chaos like a god, she says, her claws lingering on his hand. Ethan's face burns. Just a guy with a manual, but I'll take the compliment. The monitors beep, the grid stabilizing, but new alert flashes, swarm reinforcements detected. Ethan's stomach drops. The scouts were just the appetizer. The main swarm's coming. There was a deafening roar that shakes the hive to its core. Zanara's exoskeleton pales, her antennae drooping. The great swarm will consume all, she whispers. Ethan's not ready to give up. He digs into the interface, finding a buried command. Beacon override. The Aurora's distress signal, the one that called the swarm, is still active. If he can redirect it, maybe he'll lure them away. Zanara, he says, your hive sap tubes are wired to the core, right? Can they carry a signal? Her eyes widen. They carry our songs across Vixara. Ethan nods, his mind racing. Then we're broadcasting a fake beacon, far from here. He reroutes the signal, sending it through the sap tubes to a distant jungle relay, miles from the hive. It's a long shot, but if the swarm chases the bait, the hive might survive. The interface demands a final confirmation, and Ethan hesitates, his finger hovering. If this backfires, he says, I could pull the swarm right to us. Zanara's claws cup his face, her touch warm, her eyes glowing. You've saved us once, she says. I trust you to do it again. Her faith hits him hard, and he's suddenly aware of how close she is, her breath sweet, her wings humming softly. He presses the key, and the sap tubes glow, the signal blasting out. The swarm's roar shifts, growing fainter as they veer toward the relay. Ethan exhales, his shoulders sagging. It worked, he says, almost disbelieving. Zanara's smile is radiant, her exoskeleton blushing bright pink. You are our salvation, she murmurs, leaning closer, and Ethan's pretty sure she's not talking about the core. Cryax staggers into the control room, his rebels battered but disarmed by the pulse. He stares at the monitors, showing the swarm's retreat, and his mandibles click slowly. The human has turned the swarm, he says, his voice grudging. Ethan shrugs, wiping sweat from his brow. Just doing my job, pal. The countdown's at 7 minutes, and the core's stable, but Ethan's not done. He pulls up the historical logs again, Ruiz's hologram flickering. The Vixarans carry our DNA, she says. Our crew joined their hives, blending our futures. The core was our gift to protect or destroy, depending on the chosen. Ethan's jaw drops. The Vixarans aren't just allies. They're cousins, their exoskeletons hiding traces of human genes. Zanara's antennae quiver, her eyes searching his. "Your kin live in us?" she asks, her voice raw. Ethan nods, still processing. "Looks like my sneeze wasn't the only thing connecting us." The revelation lands like a bomb. Cryax kneels, his spear clattering, his voice hushed. The prophecy, it spoke of kin returning. Zanara's claws tighten on Ethan's hand, her wings humming a soft, joyful note. "You are not just chosen," she says, "but family." Ethan's heart pounds. Family? He's barely got one back on Earth, and now he's tied to an alien hive? But Zanara's touch, her trust, it feels like home, and that's scarier than any swarm. The core's monitors beep, the countdown steady, but new alert flashes. Core integrity compromised. Ethan's hacks save the hive, but the Aurora's gift is still a ticking bomb, and he's got minutes to make it right, or lose everything. The control room of the heart of the hive feels like a pressure cooker, the air thick with sap and static as the monitor screams, "Core integrity compromised," in red, blocky letters. The countdown stuck at 7 minutes, but the Aurora's ancient tech is sparking, ready to blow the hive sky high. Ethan's hands shake as he scans the console, his leg aching, his nose itching like it's mocking him. Zanara's right beside him, her exoskeleton warm, her wings humming a desperate melody to keep the core stable. Her kaleidoscope eyes are locked on him, glowing with a faith that's both terrifying and grounding. Cryax stands at the hatch, his crimson exoskeleton battered, his rebels watching in stunned silence as the great swarm's distant buzz lingers like a bad dream. The revelation that Vixorans carry human DNA, descendants of the Aurora's crew, hangs heavy, and Ethan's still wrapping his head around being family to a hive of alien bugs. But with the core about to go supernova, he's got to focus, because one wrong move means no more family reunions. Ethan's fingers hover over the interface, the stabilization grid flickering with Vixoran glyphs and human code. "The core's overloading because of my hack," he says, his voice hoarse. "If I can't balance it, we're toast." Zanara's claws brush his arm, her touch steadying him. "Your kin built this heart," she says, her buzz soft but fierce. "You will mend it." Ethan wants to argue. He's a linguist, not a miracle worker. But her belief is like rocket fuel. He notices the grids tied to the hive's sap tubes, which are still charged from his earlier shockwave. "Okay," he mutters, "if I reverse the energy flow, maybe it'll absorb the overload." It's a crazy idea, but crazy's all he's got. He reroutes the grid, his hands flying, but the system demands a vocal override. Zanara's wings perk up. "Sing with me," she says, her voice urgent. Ethan blinks. "Sing? I sound like a dying cat." But her eyes plead, and he's not about to let her down. Zanara hums a low, resonant note, her wings amplifying it until the control room vibrates. Ethan joins in, mumbling a half-remembered Earth lullaby, his voice cracking but earnest. The core responds, its hum syncing with theirs, and the grid stabilizes, the countdown freezing at 6 minutes, 45 seconds. The sparking slows, and Ethan exhales, his shoulders sagging. "We did it," he says, grinning at Zanara. Her exoskeleton blushes bright pink, and she leans closer, her claws cupping his face. "Our hearts sing as one," she murmurs, her breath sweet. Ethan's heart pounds, and for a second, he forgets the chaos, lost in her glowing eyes. But Cryax clears his throat, his mandibles clicking. "The swarm returns," he warns, pointing to the monitors. Ethan snaps back, cursing. The main swarm force, bigger, meaner, is charging the hive, drawn by the core's lingering signal. Ethan's done playing defense. He digs into the interface, finding a final command: Core Purge. It's a last-ditch protocol to vent the Aurora's energy into space, neutralizing the beacon and the threat. But it'll drain the hive's power, leaving it vulnerable. "Zanara," he says, "this could save us, but your hive will be dark for a while. You okay with that?" Her antennae quiver, but she nods, her claws squeezing his hand. "For my people, for you, I trust." Ethan's chest tightens. He's just a guy who sneezed, but to her, he's everything. He activates the purge, and the core roars, sap tubes glowing blindingly. A beam of light shoots through the hive's ceiling, piercing the jungle sky, and the swarm's buzz falters, their massive forms veering off, chasing the vented signal into the void. The monitors go dark, the countdown stops, and the hive falls silent, its glow dimming to a faint pulse. Kryax drops to one knee, his rebels following, their spears clattering. The human, our kin, has saved Vixura, he says, his voice hushed. Ethan's too tired to process the hero worship, but Zanara's smile is radiant, her wings humming a joyful note. You fulfilled the prophecy, she says, her eyes swirling. Ethan shrugs, wiping sweat from his brow. Prophecy, schmophecy. I just didn't want to blow up. But the truth hits harder as he looks at the monitors, now showing a restored hologram of Captain Ruiz. The core was our bridge, she says, to unite human and Vixaran, to heal old wounds. The Chosen carries both bloodlines. Ethan's jaw drops. The Aurora's crew didn't just blend with Vixaran's. They engineered the bonding scent, tying human pheromones to Vixaran mating instincts. His sneeze wasn't random. It was destiny, coded into Zanara's biology centuries ago. Zanara's antennae brush his cheek, her exoskeleton blazing pink. Our bond was written in the stars, she whispers. Ethan's brain stalls. His allergies are a galactic love letter. That's next level weird. The hive stirs, Vixaran drones flooding the chamber, their wings buzzing in awe. They chant Ethan's name, their exoskeletons flashing in unison, a dazzling light show. Kryax rises, offering a clawed hand. Forgive our doubt, he says. Ethan shakes it, wincing at the grip. No hard feelings, pal. Just don't spear me again. The drones laugh, a clicking, alien sound, and Zanara pulls Ethan close, her wings wrapping around him. You've given us peace, she says, her voice raw. Will you stay, my chosen? Ethan's heart races. Stay? Is that a shuttle to fix, a report to file? But her touch, her faith, it's like gravity. I need to think, he says, his voice soft. She nods, her eyes glowing, and he knows this isn't goodbye. The hive hosts a feast under the jungle stars, the sap tubes glowing faintly as power creeps back. Vixarans offer Ethan strange, sweet fruits, trying to mimic human food, but the result's a gooey mess that makes him laugh. Zanara sits beside him, her claws brushing his, her exoskeleton pulsing pink. Your sneeze changed us, she says, teasing. Ethan grins, popping an antihistamine. Yeah, well, next time I'll bring tissues. The drones cheer, misinterpreting his pill as a human ritual, and Ethan shakes his head, amused. He's no hero, but he's left a mark. Humans aren't just survivors. They're connectors, turning chaos into unity. As Zanara leans against him, her wings humming softly, Ethan decides to stick around, at least for a while. The stars above Vixara shine brighter, and he's pretty sure his sneeze just rewrote the galaxy's love story.